Chapter 15. I look at the next picture in my hand. It is of an American soldier, white teeth gleaming, smiling into the camera. The night of our uprising, Father and I slept in the hospital complex. All around us were signs of Nazi brutality and viciousness. Body parts floated in bottles, needles filled and ready for use in executions lay neatly on a table. A prisoner who had worked there said the doctors prepared these needles every morning, and as the day progressed, orderlies injected the inmates. Charts showing the results of hideous experiments lay in piles. Everything was orderly and efficient, just like the Nazis themselves. And these men had called themselves doctors. Father's wounds was not serious. The bullet had not lodged in the bone, but whizzed through the fleshy part of his arm. The first thing he asked for was a shower. When he was clean, they disinfected the wound and wrapped it in clean gauze. We found SS rations, white bread and soup with meat and vegetables. Daniel, Father warned, you may eat only a little. After the diet we are used to, this rich food could make us seriously ill. It was hard to listen, but Father's advice and ingenuity had kept us alive so far, and I figured it would be senseless to get ill now. I found a mirror and looked into it. Who was this tall, gaunt boy with large blue eyes who stared back at me? It was like looking at a stranger. When I woke up the next morning, having slept in a cot by myself instead of with 5 others, I had the most amazing feeling. It was then I realized that I was truly free. I let out a whoop that scared all the others in the room half to death. I couldn't leap up. I was too weak, but I stood and screamed, "We're free! Free!" I hugged my father and everyone else in the room, and I told my father I'd be back to check on him later. There was something I had to do. I ate a bit of bread and took some cheese with me and then started on my way. The camp was filled with men celebrating and with those still dying. Men and boys who were nothing but skeletons shuffled around. I'd given away my food before I'd gone far. Bodies lay on the ground. I headed for the camp gate. I had to walk through it, walk out of the camp to prove to myself that this was all real. I got to the gate and moved through it. The scene before me was beautiful. The camp was on the slope of a mountainside. All around me, hills and woods stretched out in a magnificent panorama. Cherry blossoms were in bud. The grass was a deep green. The birds sang. The wind was warm on my cheeks. I couldn't help but cry. Such a beautiful world, and look what mankind had done to it. I fetched my camera from the studio and spent the next few weeks photographing everything I could. The soldier in this picture was one of the first Americans who arrived at our camp that night. There was such cheering and yelling and celebrating to everyone in the camp and to me. The Americans were the most beautiful sight in the entire world. Some of them cried when they saw what we had endured. All of them emptied their pockets. We were constantly showered with chocolate, gum, cigarettes. They were wonderful. Other pictures are not so pretty. They show walking skeletons, men too weak to survive, who died in thousands over the next few weeks. They show pits full of corpses and huts filled with dead bodies. They show camp guards on their knees begging to be set free. They whined that they had just been following orders, that they were innocent, even that they had helped Jewish friends. Here is a picture of a farmhouse not far from Buchenwald. Carl had made me part of the militia that ran the camp. We were sent out into the countryside to round up supplies. In the meantime, the Americans trucked in civilians from the area and forced them to witness the atrocities they had condoned, bury the dead, and clean up the camp. Unfortunately, many in the camp continued to die, some from eating too much of the rich food, most because they were too weak to regain their health. The local people actually complained about our taking supplies from them. The local people who for 8 years had pretended that Buchenwald did not exist. I got stronger by the day, and all I wanted to do was go back to Lotz and see Rosa and try to find Erica and Friedrich. I found Peter, and we talked about returning to Lotz together. Father, of course, wanted to find Erica. But how? He decided he would go to Lotz with me first, and then we would go to Frankfurt. Perhaps Erica would return to Frankfurt. Perhaps she was still alive. And so, here I sit on the train. It is May, and we are on our way to Lotz. I am much stronger now. I'm clean and dressed in clothes that are not lice-infested. Peter sits beside me, Father across the way. We don't talk much. We are all thinking about those we love. Are they alive? Who survived? How much more suffering is in store for us? I have never before now even entertained the possibility of Rosa's being dead. But of course, she could be. She could have been captured and shot or sent to Auschwitz. Father is thinking that Erica could be dead too, and he is feeling the pain of Mother's death. He had no time to grieve before. Now it seems that as our bodies grow stronger, the pain flows through us and over us, and sometimes we are nothing but pain. Tears come constantly and when least expected. The last few weeks in the camp, when we kept so busy helping in its running, taking part in the celebrations, the concerts, meeting with foreign delegations who suddenly wanted to know all about concentration camps, we had no time to grieve, but now we do, and it hurts. We reach a small town in Poland, and the train comes to a stop. "Half an hour before we leave," the car attendant announces. "Come on," says Peter, "let's stretch our legs." I grab my camera, which is always with me, and we leave the train. We take a deep breath as we stand on the platform and look around to see if there's a small market where we can buy some fresh fruit. We walk to the edge of the platform. Suddenly, coming from behind the station are four huge Polish farm boys. Of course, Peter speaks perfect Polish, and I understand a fair amount after having lived in lots for so long. "What have we got here?" one of them says. "Two Jews who escaped the gas?" I know we are in serious trouble. Even if we are both fit and healthy, these lads could make mincemeat out of us. In our present condition, we don't stand a chance. I start to back away, but one of them grabs Peter, and before I can do anything, he punches him hard in the stomach. People from the train are milling around, but no one comes to our aid. "Stop it!" I scream, lunging at the one who threw the first punch. One of the thugs grabs me, another punches me hard across the jaw. My whole head is ringing, and I slump forward, only to be punched in the stomach. Peter's on the ground, and I can see that they are kicking his head. "Help us!" I cry, but no one moves. I try to get loose from the grip of my captor, but I can't, so I go limp and pretend to fall unconscious. Peter is being hit mercilessly. The two who are busy with me go to beat him as he continues to struggle. He is calling them names. "You Nazis! You pigs!" I reach into my inner pocket and put my hand on my gun. I had resolved at the camp never to be a victim again. I roll over, take out the gun, and fire at one of the thugs. He clutches his leg and drops. I get up to my knees. Another one looks like he's going to come after me. "Come on," I scream. "I want to shoot you, you murderers. I want to." They begin to back off. Father comes pushing his way through the crowd, and finally, a policeman approaches. "Get this man to a hospital," I scream at the policeman. Peter is bleeding from the head, the mouth. He is unconscious now, barely breathing. The policeman runs over to the Pole, who is shot in the leg. "Not him," I scream, but they don't care. They've murdered us all, and they still hate us, and it still isn't enough. It is never enough. "Get him some help," I scream. "Now, or I'll shoot every single person here, and I mean it." The policeman runs. Soon he is back with the doctor. The doctor takes in the scene and kneels by Peter. He feels his pulse, looks at his head. "It is bad," he says. "There's probably internal bleeding. There's nothing I can do for him here. You'll have to take him to the hospital in lots. Maybe they can help him." "But that's well over 2 hours away," Father protests. "I can bind his head wounds, that's all," the doctor replies. "He needs an operation." I feel like killing them all. To die now, like this, after it's all supposed to be over? I hear a scream. It's one of pure anguish, pure anger, pure suffering. It's coming from me. Father comes over to me. "Daniel, we'll take him on the train. That's all we can do." I point the gun at the three remaining thugs who now look worried. After all, crazy people shoot. "Carry him into the train," I order, my voice shaking, "and if you drop him, I'll shoot you through the heart." They carry him onto the train, and in time the train pulls out. Peter is stretched out across two seats. I sit on the floor beside him and hold his hand and talk to him. "Don't die now, Peter, please. Perhaps your brother is waiting for you. Perhaps even your father or mother. You mustn't give up hope. You mustn't." "He can't die," I say to myself. "He can't. Not now." It seems to take forever to get to Lodz. Finally, we arrive. The conductor has ordered ahead for an ambulance. Father and I ride with Peter to the hospital. It is crowded, but they attend to him quickly and take him into the operating theater. We wait for hours. When the surgeon comes out, he speaks to us bluntly. The boy suffered internal damage. We sewed him up where we could, but he had lost a lot of blood and is very weak. The head injury is severe. He's in a coma, and we don't know if he'll come out. "We have to find his family," I say to Father. Father nods, if he has any family left.